At 10 years old, I saw my pre adolescent body as an enemy. I couldn't control how it drew the attention of the men who caused me pain, so I began to starve it. You don't deserve to eat, said a voice in my head. And the only thing I allowed myself to devour in those days was a videotape of Disney's Cinderella. Barely a teen, she screamed the truth about her dad at several of her relatives while they were on a family holiday. This is what she said, quote, "This guy has been effing me for years, since I was a little kid," I yelled in their direction, "and no one's done shiz about it." Quote, "I wish I could say that they all stood up then to perform a protective barrier around me, but they didn't move. So after a startled silence, Dad grabbed me by the neck with one hand and hit me in the face." He denies this. The father also allegedly, quote, shared her with a family friend who had lost custody of his own daughter as a consequence of his abuses. But years later, this other man, Forrest, I call him Forrest Dump, had some kind of a spiritual conversion and was now a religious figure. Of course he was. Quote, "What happened next would be funny if it wasn't so appalling. Forrest stood up and grabbed me by my shoulders and then pushed me to my knees, where he'd forced me to be so many times before. This time, though, he was clothed." Quote, he allegedly said, "You need to ask God for forgiveness," bellowing, "for what you did to your dad and me." What kind of brutal entitlement makes a human behave like this? That's my comment, not Virginia's. She continues, quote, "Suddenly I knew what hate tasted like. It was bile in my mouth, bitter, and I had an appetite for it. I hated Forrest Dump. I hated my parents. I hated every living being." The only person who never let Virginia down was herself. Smart beyond her years. She once shaved her head to avoid gangs at a California school she was attending. Quote, "When I emerged with my buzz cut, my aunt was horrified, but my plan worked. The next day at school, I looked so crazy that even the gang steered clear."